And good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm here with, shall we call you Steve or Hussein? Because I think you're leaning towards Steve these days, right?
Well, you know what? I I kind of got a split uh, identity. No, I'm just kidding. They both work. Hussein is my real name, my legal
Name.
name, and then Steve is the. When I was a kid living in the U.S., this was before Barack Hussein Obama, before Saddam Hussein. And so
Right.
nobody knew how to say Hussein back then. And they'd call me Houston and Hassan, Hassin, Hazin, and all these things. And I finally just told them, dude, just call me Steve.
We Steve.
And
That was going to be my first question. So well done. Let me just say hello to the audience for a moment. Say, hey, everyone, welcome. Great to see you. Villainous. There's a guy called Lloyd De Jongh in the chat. Hey, I've got a guy in the chat with a name just like mine. That's crazy. We've got Horse, of course. So good to see you again, Horse. Nice to have you back. And he says, before you ask where I've been, I'm usually here listening. I can't keep up with the chat anymore. Well, glad to have you back. Good to see you. David and HH, great. Thank you. He says, this is going to be good. Steve is such a lovable guy. So, we get to talk with him about his journey and what he does, why he does it. He and I did not have a chance to speak before this, but we did a live stream like 2 years ago, right?
Yes, yeah.
And it was pretty traumatic for you, I believe. So, we can chat about that and everything else. So, guys, for the next hour and a bit, the floor is yours. So please introduce yourself. And everyone, please do like, share, subscribe. The usual YouTube things. Let your friends know. And if you do like the content, please share it, do subscribe. And also, I've got your link to your channel in the description, not the description, in the title. Everyone can find your channel by clicking on that. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Well, first of all, just curious about your name. The lead singer for a group called Styx. That's the River in Hell. The lead singer, I think his name was De Jongh too. I don't know if you remember that. It is. Do you remember that? This might be
before I don't know him at all. No.
Maybe before your time. So anyway, there was similarity between the names. It was popular when I was in high school. So, hey, he never returned as a horse. Yeah. So, my name is Hussein. That was my grandfather's name. But my father is Palestinian. He's from a village near Jerusalem. Our village is in the West Bank. That's my wife there, so and my beautiful wife, and when shortly after Israel was founded in the 1948, my dad was a kid at the time, but a lot of the Palestinian men were leaving and trying to come to America, and the way that the route that they would take is they would go through Alexandria. They take a ship to Alexandria. Back then, airplane was very expensive, and so they take a ship, go to Alexandria, Egypt, and from there go to Brazil. And from Brazil, they would get married, and they pretend to become Catholic, and feign Catholic baptism like my dad did.
Pretend. Are you talking about, are these crypto Muslims? Is that what
you're saying? Yeah. These were taqiyya. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
No, because everyone goes on about crypto Jews, and no one stops to think about actual crypto Muslims. There have been cases of those throughout history, and they've caused a fair amount of damage to Europe. So just want to throw that out there. And in fact, you're not the first person to tell me this. Adam Seeker spoke about it to me as well.
Oh, really? Wow. Well, it's almost all of my male relatives, uncles, and they went to Brazil, and a lot of them are still there, and they get married to Brazilian women, and they did feign Catholic baptism. and pretend to become Baptist. Because in Brazil is the Indonesia of Catholicism compared to the way Indonesia is the number one Muslim country. Brazil is the number one Catholic country.
Mm-hmm.
And so to marry a Brazilian woman, you'd have to be Catholic. And so they would pretend to become Catholic, which my dad did. I saw his baptismal certificate, and he married my mom, and then came up to the U.S., and I was born in the U.S. And our village, just so give me a greater sense of self-importance, is in the Bible. It's in the book of Joshua. In the book of Joshua, it's called Ai, and it's I know. First, they went to Jericho and then to Ai. And Ai is actually where they got defeated. And that's a mark of pride for us that the Israelis were defeated there. But anyway, we have the ruins of Ai behind our village. And so anyway, came to the U.S. I was born in the U.S., in the Bay Area. And again, big Arab community there. And lots of Palestinians, and we lived there till I was about.
Is this the correct village?
No, it's AI, just AI. I don't think it is.
In fact, it's spelled. You see spellings like ayat as well.
Yes. There are spelling where in Isaiah it's spelled AITH, I believe.
Yeah, let me go to Google and see if I can find that. But that's really interesting. So it's actually an Iron Age village that dates back thousands of years.
Yes, yeah. Everything over there, every rock has a holy significance. There's the one where Jesus mounted the donkey, and all of the. Yeah, okay. In fact, an ancient Canaanite. Yeah, right. We're right next to Bethel. And Bethel is an Arabic village called Betin now, which is right next to our village. And that's where Abraham, that's our village. Today, our village is called Der de Bouin. And it's an Arabic village. And that's it.
Wow.
And in fact,
they call city of AI found.
There's a little bit of controversy about it. Some people are saying that it's a little bit to the east or west or something like that, but we know that it's in the direction of Jericho and right next to Bethel, because that's in the Bible. It talks about that Abraham pitched his tent between Ai and Bethel. And
does this connection to history, to biblical history, having the rocks literally there and growing up around them, touching them, walking on them, does that have any sort of effect on your faith? And when you reminisce about the past, when you were a Muslim, does it make you see things differently?
It deepens my emotional problems. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Having a connection to the land. As a kid, my dad was, as many of his generation Palestinians, was illiterate. He didn't know how to read or write. He never went to school. After he was born to, he would just immediately almost start working as a shepherd. He was a shepherd, and his father was a shepherd. His mother was, he told me stories about his mother, and his mother died when he was young. And so they used to, and you see, if you look at this map right here that you got, you see right on the coast, there's a place called Lod, Lod.
Yes.
And it's right next to Joppa. See Joppa? And then there's Lod. Yeah. Right. Lod is where the Israeli airport is now. It's called the Lid. In Arabic, it's called the Lid. And that's where the Ben Gurion airport is if you go to Israel. And but that's where my dad used to be a shepherd. He used to go and take care of the sheep there. And so he and there's Bethel and Ai. Ai is next to Jericho there. Yep, Ai. It's called Der de Buen today. That's the name. It's a Muslim village now, and so and then there's Bethel, which is today is called Betin. Betin. But the Israelis have built a settlement there, and the settlement is called Beit El, Beit El, which is the original name for Bethel. And so there is a settlement there based on the. In fact, there's settlements all over the place there, and so anyway, AI's kind of got a nasty reputation in the Bible. You know, it doesn't. It's not one of the heroic towns like Jerusalem or something.
Right.
So anyway, you know about the connection. One thing, because my dad was illiterate, he didn't, and he was Muslim. But when my mom was Catholic, obviously, but there was an agreement that that we would be brought up Muslim, you know, the kids, and so. But I didn't really know nothing about Islam, and I was born in America, grew up on cartoons and everything. In fact, I was born. Just to add to my significance, is I was born a few months before John F. Kennedy was assassinated. 3 months before Kennedy was assassinated. He was assassinated in November. I was born in August of '63, and so the America was kind of in a time of turmoil back then as well, and but then. But I always had I had a love for Jesus. I don't know, even though our family was Muslim and we weren't allowed to have Bibles, we never went to church, never. I knew there was something different about us. I didn't know what it was. I knew there was something different about us. This is when we were in the U.S. I knew that my friends, like in school, would go to church. I would see these buildings called churches, and I'd wonder about them. But I knew that there was something about us that we never went to church. The only time I ever went into a church was at a wedding, a friend's wedding. I went, and I was one of the ring bearers or something. And as a kid, and I remember when I was a kid, I was like 7 years old or something. I was staring at the pictures of Jesus. Like in the Catholic Church, they have like the stages of the cross. The stages of the cross, and I was just staring at it like, what's going on here, man? And then they had this big picture of Jesus, big painting of Jesus, and Jesus, this was during the hippie time too, when I was, and he had his fingers like that, like a peace sign, and I just looked at that, stared at it, and I was wondering what's with this guy, and I would ask my mom and stuff, but my mom was. There was an agreement that we're going to be Muslims. And so, even though my mom never became a Muslim, she was Catholic, but we, the kids, were supposed to be brought up Muslim. And so we wouldn't talk about the Bible and stuff. And I kept asking my mom, what's up with Jesus? Who's Jesus? Da, 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 and finally, one day she just said, dude, just bring a Bible home from the library. So I brought a Bible home. I was like 7 years old, and then when I started reading, I know it was the Gospel of John because of the stories that were in it. And one thing I noticed is that that Jesus was just this amazing man, is doing all these amazing things, these miracles and everything. I'm thinking, dude, why were they so mad at him? I couldn't understand why they were so mad at him, because he was doing all these amazing things and healing people, raising the dead. And I knew that there was these people that hated him. And I thought, why did they hate him? I didn't understand why they hated him. And then I read, that they wanted to kill him. And I thought, why? He just raised a dead man from the dead, and he healed the blind man. And why do they want to kill him? What did he do? Right. And nobody taught me. And so, but I noticed one thing. And just going back to your question, that was a long, circuitous route to get to your question, which is, I knew that he was called the King of the Jews. And I knew somehow that I had some kind of connection to the Jews, you know. and it was I didn't know what it was, but I knew that that my dad didn't like them. There was something about them, and there was this mystery about Jews. Like, who are these Jews? And so I was getting it a little bit from the Bible, and then also from my dad. My dad was very patriotic Palestinian, and he really loved Jamal Abdel Nasser. I don't know if you remember him. He was
He was the president of Egypt.
yeah, actually, he was probably because he's in Africa. So there was I don't know if there was some kind of relation there, but between South Africa and, but he was and when he died, I think he assassinated,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember my dad, we had a huge picture of him in our house. And I remember my dad came home and just was crying. I didn't understand why my dad was crying. I didn't understand what happened. I just remember him sitting at the table crying. And it was, I think maybe Muslims are feeling like this right now with what's going on with Israel. But yeah, Jamal Abdel Nasser. I think it was like the death of the death of a dream, because he was the one who was going to bring back the Arab he's the one who was into pan-Arabism, which is all the Arab nations going to come together and rise up against Israel. And I think it was 1970. It was after the 1967 Six-Day War.
Right.
And so
I just have a question.
Mm-hmm.
He was president from 1954 until 1970. So was it normal to have a 16-year presidency as a term, or was he just like not stepping down?
I don't know, but Egypt was a monarchy before, and they had the king. What was his name?
King Fahd. No. Was it King Fahd? Fahad. Yeah, I think it was King Fahad.
Yeah. Arab democracy is very flexible.
Yeah, I know. In fact, I mean, yeah, but holy no, I'm thinking of the king who started the 1924 Quran project. I think that was King Fahd. Yeah, so could be. I'll get my facts wrong. So the plot to kill Nasser. Yeah, one of its fired 8 shots at him during a mass rally in 54. Okay.
Yeah, but he was very beloved by the Arabs, and he was very much the one who wanted. He was one of the main guys of the 1967 war against Israel, which resulted in Israel taking over the West Bank, Jerusalem, all of Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, and I think possibly the Sinai. I'm not sure if they got the Sinai in 73 or 67. That was one of the two main wars, was 67 and 73. I was actually I was there during the 1973 war. I was 9 years old, and 73 war was called the Yom Kippur War, which they were, what happened in October 7th last year was kind of like timed to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the 1973 war. Yeah. And so I lived there during that time, and what happened is that my parents, when I read the Bible, going back to when I was 7 years old, I read the Bible. I was 7 years old, but I just totally fell in love with Jesus. And I just like, wow, he's amazing, And I didn't understand when he died, I understood they were beating him because I saw the pictures of him beating him. It was a picture Bible. And I read the whole thing in one sitting. I was only 7 years old, but I was so hungry spiritually. And then when I was done reading it, I came to the part where he died. I didn't understand that he came back to life. I didn't understand that he was the one who came back to life. But I was real happy because I was 7 and I was learning about death. I was just beginning to understand death. And so I thought, wow, this is great. So if somebody dies, just put their body on a rock for 3 days and they'll come back to life. So that's what I thought this was, the solution for death, and but after that, I drew a picture of Jesus on the cross, and I showed it to my mom, and I said, and my mom said, your dad's not going to like that. And so I knew there was something there. I didn't know what it was. My dad never talked to us about Islam. He didn't know that much. He was illiterate, like I said. He's very simple, very.
Right.
So, but I knew there was something about the cross, and so anyway, when I was 9, my parents got divorced, and my dad was afraid. I was in the U.S. I was afraid that my mom was going to come take me from him, and he didn't know what to do. My mom left him and stuff, and he didn't know what to do. So he took us back to Israel, and he took me to our village and left us there for 3 years with a stepmother who is. He got married again to a Muslim woman, and he left us there with her for 3 years. And so I lived there, and I learned Arabic. I didn't know any Arabic before that.
I was going to ask about that. Okay. Yeah. So you speak it fluently now, or just okay?
I'm very good. I know how to read and write, and I know how to, because this time it was like I was 9 years old. And I was in the 4th grade in the U.S., but because I didn't speak or read any Arabic or anything, when I went over there, they put me back in 1st grade. So I started all over again from 4th grade to 1st grade, and I started all over again, A, B, C, but in Arabic. And so I learned how to read, write, and speak Arabic. And I also learned about Islam. I didn't really know about it before, but they teach you instantly about Islam over there. And I was real wanting to learn about Jesus. Well, the Muslims taught me about their Jesus. And they said, oh, yeah, Jesus is great, man. He's so awesome. He's amazing. But he's not the Son of God. Okay, just so you know about these kuffar Christians. And he didn't die on the cross. Somebody else was made to look like him. Jesus was taken into heaven. And, the Islamic story, and somebody else was crucified in his place. And I was so hungry spiritually, I totally believed everything they said, and accepted Islam. And I wanted to, in fact, I even used to have ideas. I wanted to come back to America. And, one thing they used to do back then in school is called show and tell, where one kid would raise his hand and go up and show, I got this new toy, or I got this new shirt, or tell every day they'd have one kid go up, and I was thinking I would do show and tell, and I would go tell them, what, I want to write on the board, the Jews believe in Moses, the Christians believe in Moses and Jesus, but the Muslims believe in Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad. So you guys should become Muslims. That was my little sermon spiel that I wanted to do. And I was sincerely afraid. For Christians, because I knew so many Christians, and I was sincerely worried about them, that they're going to go to hell. And so I wanted them to become Muslims, and I wanted to preach to them about Islam. And, I just had that religious nature, and I felt the urgency about. Right. And it was completely sincere, I wasn't just wanting to do violence or, anything like that. I was spoiled American, but I did want to preach about Islam. And so when I was 11 or around 12, almost 12, my mom made my dad bring us back to America, because I think it could be classified as a kidnapping, that we were taken to another country and left there for 3 years, Right. Yeah. So we did come back. And when we came back, I was around 12. I was so happy to be back in America. Going back there, by the way, it was like stepping into the Bible. The people were their sheep, their shepherds. We didn't have TV. We didn't have telephones. Right. We didn't have running water. We didn't. I mean, it was just like stepping into the Bible, essentially. My village is very advanced now. It's one of the richest villages in the West Bank now. But back then, it was like, you know.
So how does that inform your understanding of Islam today and of your apologetics today?
Well, I just remember the that there was a seduction, spiritual seduction of Islam.
Yeah.
They don't just have this crazy story. There's a spiritual demonic element. The Bible talks about seducing spirits, and
Right.
there is a supernatural element in Islam, and it's the Antichrist spirit. And so that was I just remember that there was in our village, and I think in all Muslim, there's a real thing about witchcraft, about the jinn, about the evil spirits, and all this stuff. And so there's always this kind of mystery. And the thing too is about that I noticed is that in America, people were Christians. They go to church and stuff like that. Mostly, a lot of them did, but they weren't always talking about God. There was a more secular society. But over in the Middle East, they're always talking about God. They're always talking about Allah did this, so Allah, alhamdulillah, subhanallah,
Right.
Allah, inshallah, everything is Allah related, And so I like that. I like that religious emphasis that they had, in their culture. And so I was very attracted to Islam. I really like, and I knew that the problem with Christianity was that they said Jesus is the Son of God. I knew that was a problem. We'd all memorized Surah 112, which is Surah Al-Ikhlas, in Arabic, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu, that Allah is one. He doesn't change. He's unchangeable. He doesn't give birth. He wasn't born. There's no one like him, And I know that was the first surah you memorize as a kid. There's like 5 that you got to memorize. The Fatiha, which is the first one, and then this one, denying the sonship of Jesus Christ. It's the first thing you learn as a Muslim is Jesus is not the Son of God. This is foundation, And the other thing that you learn, ma salabu ma qatalu lakin shubbaha lahum. They did not kill him. They did not crucify him. It was made to appear so, 4:157 in the Quran.
So why would Allah create a deception where he creates the distinct impression that Jesus was killed and Jesus did die? Why would Allah go out of his way to create this deception that fools people into believing this then causing this confusion?
You see, you're just asking too many questions. Why? You're not supposed to think like that. You're just being very negative, and it can. I'm just kidding.
No, I know. I'm so sorry. I grew up in Africa, and you know what educational standards and behavior is like down there. And I'm trying. I'm trying. I live now. I got a lot of white people around me, and I'm trying to be civilized. So I'm trying.
Well,
yeah, we used to joke about that as a kid. It's like, hey. No, actually, growing up in Africa, when because we grew up in what's called a colored neighborhood, and it's like we used to, when we were going outside of our neighborhood, going to places where there were white people. That was a thing. So you got dressed, you brushed your hair, you made sure your clothes were clean, and you got in the car in your Sunday best, and you went off, and it's like, be on your best behavior. It was growing up was such a different world. I don't relate to exactly the same experience he's had, but my youth was a very different planet altogether.
Well, you know what? I think there was that thing about the white people, because I always knew that I wasn't white, and I always felt I wasn't white. I didn't know what I was exactly especially when I was younger. But I knew that I kind of had a feeling people don't really like us.
Villainous makes a very good point. They constantly in Islam, they make such a point. I mean, a significant portion, what 40% of the Quran is about denigrating the status of Jesus, so or something like that. So because then you have to elevate the status of Christians, but Muslims are the best of all mankind. This is not
Yes.
compatible. It's a very good point. Oh wow,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Mary Alex.
Yes.
That is really, really, really great of you. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And also,
I'll take that applause as being for me, but go ahead. Yeah,
no,
but
thank you, Mary Alex. It's very kind. There was a question: how much do they preach about the jinn? Because I hope to talk about the jinn in the future, in the not too
dude,
distant future.
there is such a fear of the jinn. There's all these stories about a jinn appeared over here. Yeah, we had a little shrine called Sheikh Ammar. It was where some sheikh was buried or something, you know, and it was a very somebody saw a jinn there. There was a demon there and stuff, and there's a real fear of the jinn, you know, and there's a real, you know, I mean, literally people. And witchcraft is so common. Witchcraft is so common, and people, you know, they do all kinds of witchcraft. You know, the real famous, popular ones that I used to see most was like it's called Fatah al Finjan. You know, where they would drink coffee and then they would, you know, the thick black Arabic coffee, and then they would look in the coffee cup and they would see, okay, I see that this person is coming to see you, and I remember people used to talk about that. It says, yeah, somebody told me that they saw this person coming to my house and all
Yeah.
this stuff, you know. And so, and then there's the wicked eye, the
The
eye,
evil eye, yeah.
evil eye, yeah. And they would what they do, they take a piece of black fabric and they would burn it, and then they would do like that around your face to keep
Yes,
people from.
yes, yes, I know that.
Yeah, in Arabic, it's sibak bil ain, touch you with the eye, you know. And I think some of this maybe comes from the Jews as well, from the Kabbalah and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of their witchcraft kind of. But there's one thing that's kind of funny about the jinn, you know, is that they, you know, the one thing that they do to get the jinn out of their house is they play Quran, you know, non-stop Quran playing, you know, to keep the jinn out of their houses. But you know what? I just want to tell any Muslim who wants to get rid of the jinn by playing Quran, I just want to tell you it doesn't work. Because according to the Quran, Surah al-Jinn, the Surah of the Jinn in chapter 72 of the Quran, according to the Quran, when the jinn hear the Quran, they love it. They love Quran. And in fact, they want to hang around and listen to it more. And in fact, they become Muslims. They become Muslims, but they still stay in your house. If you want to get rid of the jinn, use the name of Jesus Christ. There's nothing else to get rid of those things. Okay, so
You know,
people are always trying to get rid of them, and so
interesting. It's like, why would they get rid of Muslims? And it's kind of a strange thing, but also, you know, what you're saying to me is so reminiscent of my growing up. Now, admittedly, I didn't grow up in a tribal society. I mean, the tribal blacks wouldn't consider me black. They don't consider us black. And the tribal blacks have a completely different set of beliefs there. In many ways, are still very primitive in their mindset, their beliefs. And the kinds of things that you're describing is the parallels with black society in Africa is the parallels are very clear.
yes,
So you're looking at a tribal society, you're looking at a society that believes in these kinds of things. This was not part and parcel of my growing up whatsoever. Now certainly we knew about it. We were familiar with it, and in fact, we'd have some experiences. Sometimes I've had experiences that I don't like to talk about, and my family, as my mother, we've seen things have happened, and that's the story for another day. But these ideas and this fascination is part and parcel of these primitive tribal societies, and the jinn. If you go back, because I've been doing a lot of work recently, I want to do a talk on the jinn. The jinn are demons. The
yeah,
jinn possess people.
yeah,
The jinn make people do things. They give them abilities if they allow them to possess them. In fact, there's an overlap with Santeria or voodoo, if you call it that. So there's these odd parallels, and they would be considered evil otherwise.
yes,
And when you look at ancient Arabic society, ancient Arab society, pre-Islam, the jinn were considered demons. The jinn would were considered. It's something people did, but these societies, I mean, the jinn did evil, wicked things. So it's really odd that this completely pagan, a literally pagan practice is so entrenched in Islam, which is supposed to be so pure. It's just an odd thing.
Yeah, well, and Islam has done the demons a great favor, in that it says that there's good and bad jinns. Because there's good jinns too. They're Muslims. They're Muslim. They became Muslim. The Quran says it. The Quran says it. The demons say, oh yeah, some of us became Muslims and became believers,
Yeah.
and we loved the wondrous Quran. That's what it says. It says we love the wondrous Quran. They're just like, my goodness. So all these people playing Quran all day to get rid of them. It's like they love
Bringing them. Aren't the jinn creatures of smoke and fire? Because we would associate that with hell.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And Satan is one of the jinn. Satan is a jinn. He wasn't an angel in Islam. He was a jinn. And so but people are terrified of these things, and they know. You know what? Those societies are much more spirit aware than like in the West. In the West, they were so secular and arrogant and proud, and but they're very aware of the demonic realm, about the spiritual realm. But Satan did, Islam did demons a great favor by saying some of these demons are good, because that way people actually think they are good, and they think there's good witchcraft, and they're doing witchcraft with these supposedly good demons. And so that but I was very aware of that. They thought, and I just got to say something about, because I grew up in America, and again, I'm older than most people, yes. But there was a very famous, in America, witchcraft was real popular on TV with Bewitched. There's a show called Bewitched, and there was also another program called I Dream of Jeannie. Well, the jinn are genies.
We discussed that last night. I Dream of Jeannie. It's such an obvious play on words pushing this idea.
But you know what? There's an episode of I Dream of Jeannie where Jeannie starts losing her power. And she would just be standing there, and all of a sudden she'd go to sleep. And the only cure, she had to go to Mecca. She had to go to Mecca. She had to go to Mecca and pray towards the great mosque, and her master had to do this. He had to do this thing with his hand and he had to stand in front of the great mosque and put his hand out like this and say these words in order for her to be restored to her power. Now, don't tell me there's not something there going on there.
We discussed that last night. I had a guy, Greek American, on last night. He's living in Greece, and we discussed the very subtle influence in American cinema and television where they romanticize and they prettify all of these Islamic concepts. Now, on the one hand, it could be that Americans are just being polite and being nice and trying to present other cultures in a good light. But on the other hand, you also have to wonder, are they also trying to use this as a Trojan horse to make this acceptable? And it's very odd that I literally brought this up 24 hours ago.
Yeah, well, I think there's Saudi money involved as well, because that's all they really care about in Hollywood anyway. But I believe there was literally, she's flying on her rug saying, Habibi, 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 this is the genie. But she had to go to Mecca. This was an episode of I Dream of Jeannie. I did a live stream about it. But they literally had to go to Mecca, and they had to stand by the most important mosque, and he had to stretch out his hand and do this thing and say these words towards the mosque. It's just it's very blatant what's going on there. It's getting people this favorable idea about Islam, and there's Americans walking around there. There's actually Americans walking around in Mecca talking and stuff like this. I'll send you the link, but it's
because
wild.
I mean, what is an American doing in Mecca? What's a non-Muslim doing in Mecca? That's illegal.
Well, you
You
see
can't get
that,
close. I've been
yeah.
in Jeddah a few times, and I've been in Taif and Taif and all that. I've been around Mecca. Not now. Look, some of my colleagues at the time were taken into Mecca, but they were there for a very specific project, for a security related project, and they were escorted by the police. And you have an escort when you go to these places now. So they went. There was a special dispensation, and they didn't exactly go crawl around in the Kaaba. I mean, that just wasn't going to happen. But that said, you can't go to Mecca down the street because one, there's only a couple of roads, and two, there are police checkpoints. You don't just march in there. So how does a non-Muslim get to Mecca?
Hmm. Well, this is I Dream of Genie. It's a comedy show, but it was very, very popular, and it's never not been on TV. It's so popular, and but anyway, uh, I just kind of show that you start picking up on this stuff. Say, wait a minute, this is something's going on here. There's money involved here. It always goes back to oil money. But
Yeah.
anyway, when I came back to America, I was still a very devout Muslim, very committed Muslim, and I used to read the Quran, try to understand it, because I did read Arabic, but I didn't understand nothing of the Quran. And I always liked to watch movies about Jesus on TV. And there was this movie
Mm,
called Jesus of Nazareth that would come on once a year during Easter time. And
I
I
know it.
would watch it. I loved that movie so much, man. And
Mm,
even though I was a Muslim, but I loved watching, and I loved watching the crucifixion scene, and I loved watching the resurrection scene and all that stuff, even though I was a Muslim, you know. And, but I was a very committed Muslim, like when I would go to school, this is in the United States after I came back. I was a teenager now, I'd walk by a church. I would always spit at the church, just to show my disdain for Christianity. And I know a lot of Muslims say, "Oh, that's not Islamic at all." So, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one who does it. But you know, I was always do that. And but then on the night of Easter, 1978, I was watching a TV program. I used to watch Saturday Night Live as a popular program. It still is, actually. And
Right.
but this is the original Saturday Night Live with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd and Gilda Radner and all them. And uh, and I'd be alone in the house because my dad would go work, far away on the weekends, and so I'd be alone in the house. And I was watching Saturday Night Live, and after Saturday Night Live, there was nothing on TV except for this Oral Roberts crusade. He was a famous evangelist, and he died about 15 years ago. But while he was talking about Jesus and the resurrection, because it was Easter, the Spirit of God just fell on me, just like boom, like that. And I was laying down, and Jesus was right there. And I just turned, and he was right there. And I didn't see him with my eyes, but I know he was right there. It was like he was like floating. It was like I know he was right there. I knew the Holy Spirit was inside of me, and Jesus was over there. So it was like two persons of the Trinity. One was inside, and Jesus was right there. It's like he baptized me with the Holy Spirit.
Just like that.
It was just like that. And it was so powerful. And I just looked and I said, Jesus. I knew who it was. And it was like he was an old friend that I knew before, and and it was just like, I just knew him. I knew who he was. And it was, and I was a very committed Muslim, but, I don't say that I was a Muslim and I became a Christian. I was dead and I came to life.
Wow.
Literally, I was spiritually dead and I came to life when he came. And it was so powerful. And I knew that he's the Son of God. And I knew he died for me on the cross and rose again. Those two things I knew instantly. And, it was so powerful. It was such a miracle. And I know this happens a lot with Muslims, and it was like there's nothing that compares with the power of the Holy Spirit. all the jinn, all the witchcraft, the seducing devils, and all that stuff. Nothing compares to the power of the Holy Spirit. And so, literally, at that point, I was alone in the house, and I wasn't wearing a shirt, and so there's nobody to talk to. So what I did is I went into the bathroom, and I had this toothpaste. It was called Close Up. It's red, and I
Yep,
made
I know it.
a cross on my chest. My way of saying I'm a Christian now, and it was that powerful, and uh, and uh, and then I wanted to find the church that I used to spit at all the time on my way to school. I actually went there on Monday, the next day after school, to talk to the pastor and to tell him what happened to me. And he told me, well, you got to do, back then it was real important to do what's called the 4 spiritual laws. They used to say you're a sinner, Jesus died for you. If you receive him, you'll be born again, And so he told me that, and I prayed to receive the Lord, even though I felt like I had already received him, And so that's how I became a Christian. And that was 50 years ago, almost 1978. And so, or 45 years ago, I think.
So how old were you then?
I'm 61 now. So
wow.
I don't look it because I'm very immature. I mean, very young, youthful looking with my white beard. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened. And eventually I had problems with my Muslim dad, who was not religious at all before I became a Christian. But after I became a Christian, he when he found out, he became very committed Muslim and tried to get me to go back to Islam. And eventually he kicked me out, and I went to live with my mom. And my mom allowed me to go to church, and so I started going to Takia Turchin. That was funny. Takia.
Yeah.
I started going to church. I grew in the Lord, and I always was evangelistic. I always wanted to preach to the Muslims, and preach the gospel, And then I really started wanting to go back to the Muslims. I never really thought about that. But I started feeling a responsibility to somehow reach the Muslims, because I know what they're like. I know what their heart is like. I know I've been there. I was one of them. And so I felt that I had a particular insight to be able, like, I look at the story of Joseph, like Joseph, what happened to him was much worse than what happened to me. His brothers sold him, and he went to Egypt, separated from his family and everything. And but at the end of his life, he said to his brothers, he says, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. And so I felt like, all the stuff that happened to me when I was a kid, and it was very traumatic and it was very painful. And but God meant it for good. I learned Arabic. I learned the culture. I learned to love. They became human beings to me, not just people, just Arabs. And I learned Islam to where I'm able to understand them a little bit. And so I've kind of really wanted to minister to Muslims, and that's what I've been doing for most of the last, since with a real focus, since 1999. That's when I went to university. I became a journalist. I learned journalism, and I worked at newspapers and stuff for a while. But I always felt this call to go back to the Muslims, and specifically the Palestinian Muslims. And in 1999, shut me up or tell me, anytime you want, if you have any.
No, it's just interesting to listen to. I mean, I haven't really heard your testimony like this before, so it's very, very interesting. And I think also for the audience, from what I'm seeing, it's really so. I mean, so growing up in Palestine, your cultural and the social environment, this really benefited your understanding of Islam. And how did it make you appreciate Christianity more now in comparison with Islam and Arab culture?
Well, um, you know, a lot of times when you're Arab in the middle in America, uh, you're I hate to say this, but a lot of times you're ashamed to be Arab. It's like I don't know. It's like we're a group of people that is I just felt from the I don't know from media from the people I felt that I was different and not just I think it's a little bit different than being like an African American or something like that because I felt that we were hated. People didn't like us, and I didn't like us. It's just like, dude, I didn't want to be this, but this is what I was, and I really felt, you know, like we were the Arabian Nights, Sinbad, Aladdin, all this, these magical. And
Look, it's actually true though, if you consider that there was an effort about 15 years ago to try to shame people into not using Arabs as bad guys and talking about Muslim terrorists because that's creating a stereotype. But the simple fact is, I mean, if you look at the 70s and 80s, the 60s, the rise of Arab terrorism,
mhm,
look at the attacks on Israel from 1948. That created the impression people had of Arabs.
yeah,
People didn't know why they were doing this, but they just saw violence. Then you saw Iran, the Ayatollah Khomeini,
yeah,
right? You saw that. You saw the rise of the Palestinian terror groups. I mean, the Palestinians invented, in a real sense, or shall we say, televised modern terror.
hmm,
And the only reason we have crazy airport security is thank the Palestinians. The
yeah,
reason they search your bags, the reason they stick their hands in your crotch, and the reason that they are scanning you and taking you into little rooms and making you strip down is because of Palestinians. The reason they scan your bags, the reason you have to wait so long is because Palestinians, maybe not the very first to hijack planes, but they certainly got very brutal about it. The Palestinians were blowing up planes and buildings and assassinating people all over the Middle East. Wherever they went, they were trouble. And so
yeah,
this idea of Arabs as bad people, I mean, it was based on actual events. So yeah, there's
yeah.
that.
And in fact, I was just a few years ago. I was doing, like Uber Eats, where you deliver food to from restaurants to people's houses. And there was this one. There's this one house. There's some guy named Mohammed something, and his kid came out to get the food. I was delivering food to his house, like a pizza or something, and his kid came out to get the food. His kid is like about 12 years old or something, and his name was Mohammed something, and I said, "Oh, are you guys Arab?" And the kid said, "No, we're Asian." And and you know what? I remembered. I identified with that. I remembered how ashamed I was that I was Arab when I was a kid. I felt ashamed. I wanted to not be Arab, but I was.
Hmm.
And so I hate it when it gets into that I think it's a racism against Arabs that we need to be careful as Christians. I think especially as Christians that we not uh, do that. That we be very specific. Our problem is with Islam, not with Muslim.
Yeah, no, I lived in the Middle East for 11 years. I've traveled all over the Middle East. I've dated Arab girls who also unfortunately suffered anxiety about having their families literally kill them because of it, which is a real, genuine thing. And that's actually what eventually was the I think the main driver for me to start to look into this. Like, why are these people acting so strange?
Mm,
Besides my work, which was national defense related, but this really, I was like, why are these people behaving like this? What's the weirdness here? I don't understand.
mm,
And there must be more to this. And
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, Arabs are very nice people. Omanis that I met were so nice. Omanis especially are very friendly.
yeah,
Uh, you find some really lovely Omanis, for instance, in that region.
yeah,
And yeah, so it's the ideology. I mean, they're just people, but
yeah,
the ideology but also the ties of the tribe, having to be loyal to the tribe, having to be loyal to. I mean, they police each other, they tell on each other, they there are punishments if you step out of line. I mean, there are real punishments, and it causes massive anxiety. People live double lives. They suffer mental breakdowns. I've seen this.
Yeah, it's you know there's an element of the the Arab identity, that is from Abraham. They have chosen to embrace Abraham, even though I don't know about the actual physical descent, but they have chosen Abraham as their father, as Ishmael. They consider themselves the descendants of Ishmael, especially the Muslims, of course. And you know what? I don't know. I know they've done a lot of research and say, no, they didn't really come from Ishmael. They come from this guy or that guy. It don't matter. They've chosen that identity, though. And there's a lot of things in their culture which actually is very Abrahamic. It's very much like Abraham, like the hospitality, amazing kindness. Like when Abraham, was so hospitable and so kind. And you find that in the Arab culture. In fact, you find it more than you find it in the Jewish culture. Because they still are almost living in that time, that Stone Age, primitive. But there's something very nice and wonderful about that. But it's been usurped by Islam, and Islam has kind of come in and tried to usurp that, but. Again, what's happening is that God is pouring out His Spirit on the Muslim people right now in a way that you don't hear about it with other people. I know it's happening all over the world, but man, with the Muslims, it's happening so much. Where what happened to me, it happened so much, and so many Muslims, because they have faith, it's misdirected faith, but it's faith. They believe there's a God. They believe that, and it's just like sometimes you just gotta. You just turn their focus a little bit, like, oh, okay, yeah. And instead of at Muhammad, to the true God. And but like in 1999, what happened is that I was in the U.S. I was a reporter. I was working in a newspaper, and I just felt this call to go to the Holy Land, to go back and see if I could. And I knew how Muslims are going to react, because I was one. I knew how they're going to react when you tell them Jesus is the Son of God. They're going to say, "Oh no, let me he has no son and he's not a father. He doesn't have kids." And I know what they're going to say when you tell them Jesus died on the cross. They're going to say, "La ma salabu ma qatalu, they did not kill him, crucify him, is made to pure." I knew that's what I had the whole thing memorized. I was like that, but I knew the power of preaching the gospel. That you plant the seed. You plant the seed and you leave it. You just plant the seed and leave it. And if there's no seed, there's no harvest. But if you plant seed, sometimes they say that in the desert that a seed could be underground for 2,000 years until the water reaches it, and boom, all of a sudden it comes up. It bears fruit. But you have to plant the seed. And so I want to plant the seed. And that's what Jesus said. The sower goes out to sow. He plants seeds. He doesn't stay and just look at every single seed and see what happens to it. He just throws out the seed and then lets, what happens happen.
Yeah, sometimes we don't have the power to make change. We simply deliver the message, and the rest is not up to us.
Yeah. Paul said, one plants, one waters, but the Lord gives the increase, and so we may be the planter, we may be the waterer, we don't know, but we don't give the increase. We don't save nobody. We just tell them about Jesus. And I know this from my own experience, because I saw, with me, it was a very supernatural experience that happened to me, which is what happens with a lot of Muslims, is the supernatural experience with the Holy Spirit.
Is more of this happening to Muslims? Because I've heard, and there are others who speak about it in the chat. You will see this in my chat, but you hear about this in Iran. I mean, I've heard many people speak about Iran. It's really happening in the Shia population, and I've heard that it's happening in Asia, And I mean, yeah, so you hear that there are these conversions, these spontaneous conversions, and people are having dreams
Yes.
meeting Jesus and coming out of Islam. I mean, did you know more about this?
Yeah. I never knew. I thought when I got saved, I thought that I was the first Arab Christian. I didn't know that there was such a thing as an Arab Christian. When I got saved, I thought I was the first Arab Christian in the universe. And
Yeah, okay.
and especially from a Muslim background. And but now obviously, I'm seeing what God's doing, and He's just pouring out His Spirit on the Muslims in such a powerful way. And if I could just go back to a biblical story, the story of Hagar and Ishmael, when they were cast out of Abraham's tent. They were cast out of Abraham's tent. Sarah said, "Send away the bondwoman and her son," and so they were cast out. And you see, I think that rejection is in the heart of Islam. That rejection, they feel, and they want to compete with their brother Isaac. To this day, Islam is like that competition with the promised son Isaac, and I think that jealousy that was in the heart of Ishmael is
that resentment. You see that.
Yeah.
I mean, they try to pretend that Abraham tried to sacrifice the other
Ishmael.
son, and so on. There's a question from David. How do you plant the seed? Which topic? How to start? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think my favorite, and by the way, I've written books, and I have a book. So, if anybody wants to buy my book, it's called Son of Mary. I've written lots of books, you guys, so go buy them all, and please make me rich so that I can get a bigger home. But right, I get like 13 cents from every one of my books. But if you go down, there's one called that's my most recent book. It's called Eve Didn't Have a Name Yet, but you don't have to show that. But if you go down, there's one called Son of Mary. Yeah, that's my music. I think I'm a rock star too. Yes, and so
I don't see it.
Oh no, Mashni is
Mashni. Sorry, no, it's autocorrect. Autocorrect hates me. You see, it's doing this. It's automatically doing this.
The Antichrist.
I mean, so like I once was trying to type something, and it says I was trying to send a message saying that autocorrect hates me, and autocorrect is trying to, and then autocorrect just changed the message to autocorrect is harmless. Please go about your business, human. So, it'll do things like that. So hold on. So where do we find your? There we go.
It was on Amazon. Yeah.
I'm not seeing it though. It
really?
Could be,
or you know what? It could be Steve Mashni too. Yeah.
Are you in the witness protection?
Yeah, there it is. Steve. That's it right there. It's called. See this book right here. It gives you a couple of keys on how to, when you preach to Muslims, how to some door openers to deal with Muslims. But one thing I like to do with Muslims is ask them, did Jesus die? And they're going to say, no way, he didn't die. The Quran says they did not kill him or crucify him. It was made to appear so to them. Okay. Now, in this book, which if you buy a bunch of them, you can actually take the book and give it to Muslims. You guys, I only get 13 cents from each one, so I'm not going to get rich. But
that's crazy.
But you ask them, did Jesus die? And Muslims are going to say, no way, man, he didn't die. They did not kill him or crucify him. Okay.
Wrong book.
That's
very crazy.
They stole my book. No, I'm just kidding. That's my testimony, by the way, there. But you ask them, did Jesus die? They're always going to say, no, he didn't die. They did not kill him or crucify him. It was made to appear so to them. And then say, well, how come the Quran says he did die? Okay. And then they say, no, absolutely not. The Quran says he didn't die. And then you take them to chapter 355 of the Quran. Now, you see, this is where it gets a little tricky, you guys, because the English translations are perversions, the English perversions, because they've changed it in the English. But the Arabic is very clear.
Yeah.
Which is good to learn maybe one word of Arabic. If you can learn this one word of Arabic, it's mutawafika. Mutawafika. Because in the Quran, Allah says to Jesus, chapter 355, Inni mutawafika wa rafi'ak ilayya. Allah says to Jesus, I made you to die and raised you up to myself.
Was that 4:155?
No, that's 355. 355. And then, okay, but you see that now some of the English translations will be right, but most of Muslims caught on to this, that they've got this huge mistake in the Quran. According to them, it's considered a mistake. But
this is the Saint Murad translation.
Yeah, that most of them have been sanitized to continue to fit into their doctrine. Okay, I am purifying you from those who. That's not what it says in Arabic. In Arabic, I'm fulfilling thee to myself. That's not what it says in the Arabic. In the Arabic, inni mutawafik. The word wafat in Arabic means to die. And the mutawafik means I made you to die.
Yeah.
And raised you up to myself. Okay. And so this is 355. The Quran says Jesus died. But you got to know, there are some of the English translations. See, the problem with English translations of the Quran, they've been so sanitized to deceive the West.
Yeah, they really paraphrases of various tafsir. They're not really translations from the Quran. They're paraphrases of the tafsir.
Yes, and they are very deceptive, and especially with the real bad stuff. With the real bad stuff, they cleanse it for the Americans. Okay, and but there's also 5117 in the Quran. 5117. This is where Jesus is taught. Isa, in the Quran, Jesus' name is Isa. Okay, where Isa is talking to Allah, and he says, Allah asked him, "Hey, did you tell your people to worship you and your mother as two gods?" And Isa says to him, to Allah, he says, "When you made me to die, you became a witness over them." When you made, in Arabic, lamma tawafaytani, when you made me to die, you became a watcher over them. And that's 5117. Two times where the tawafaytani has that same root word wafat in it. You made me to die. See, and that two times where it says Jesus died in the Quran. Then you go to 1933, where Jesus supposedly was a baby, and they have this crazy story. It's a Gnostic from the infancy gospel of Thomas or something like that, infancy. But in it, Jesus is as a baby. As a baby, he talks. He talks in the cradle, and he says, "Peace be upon me. The day I am born, the day I die, the day I come back to life." Yeah. So there's three very clear passages in the Quran saying Jesus died. And then they're always going to come back to 4:157. That says they did not kill him, they did not crucify him, it was made to appear so to them. Which, ma qatalu ma salabu lakin shubbaha lahum. They made to appear, this magical trick Allah made to make it look like somebody died. And there is a way to deal with that too, which is, because if you read that verse from the very beginning, now they always focus on they did not kill him, did not crucify him, is made to appear. That's what they always focus on, but that's not the beginning of the verse. The beginning of the verse is they said, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary. That's how the verse begins. They said, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary. Who's they? the Jews. The
Mm-hmm.
Jews said we killed, right? They would never say that in a billion years, but the Quran doesn't know that. But they said we killed him and crucified him, but they did not kill him or crucify him. It's made to appear something. The way you use that is you say the Quran is saying the Jews said we killed him and crucified him, but the Jews did not kill him or crucify him, which is true. They didn't. The Romans killed him and crucified him. You see, and so you could just that collapses. That's their only string that they're hanging that belief on is on that one verse. You know, they did not kill him or crucify him. But if you just read the few words that's right before it, you realize that verse is talking about the Jews. It's not saying he wasn't killed or crucified. It's saying the Jews didn't kill him or crucify him, which is, we agree with you. The Jews didn't kill him or crucify him. The Romans killed him and crucified him. So, you know, there's a way to, even that one verse, they hang their whole belief that Jesus didn't die on that one verse in the Quran. Okay. So now there's other problems in the hadith, if you're going to go into the hadith and all that, but focus on the Quran. Just say, no, let's focus on the Quran, because this is supposed to be the words of Allah, right? You don't need to go into Muhammad's words and everything. Just focus on the words of Allah. And so that's how I do. David was asking, what's the first question? That's what I use as a first question. Did Jesus die? And then take him into this. And if you get my book, it's only, dude, I'm only going to get 13 cents for it. But if you get this book, it'll show you how to use. And there's several other passages in the Quran that you could use. For instance, is Jesus God? You're going to get really in trouble if you do that. But ask him, how many creators are there? Well, there's only one creator. Allah's a creator. He will khaliq. In fact, creator is one of Allah's 99 beautiful names. You know, he's got these 99 beautiful names, including best of deceivers. No, it used to be, but they changed it. But creator, it's his name, El Khaliq in Arabic. El Khaliq. That means the creator. That's one of his beautiful names. But the Quran says Jesus created. In chapter 349, it says, I create for you a bird in the clay, the likeness of a bird. And not just that, I breathe into it and give it life. He created the bird the same way Allah created Adam, which is Allah created Adam from clay.
But that's taken from a Gnostic text. That is stolen. There's so many stories taken from children's tales of the time, Jewish and Christian.
Fairy tales.
There are things taken from Gnostic Gospels, which started in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th century, which are well after the foundation of Christianity. So why is Islam repeating old tales that come from, I mean, by the time Islam was around, these were old tales that came from hundreds of years after Christianity was founded.
Yeah.
So, and then passing that off as supposed authentic Christianity, when these are stories written 300, 400, 500 years after Jesus died.
Yeah. Well, you know, they called Muhammad the ear. There's even a verse in the Quran where Allah says they call you the ear because you just pick up you hear all this garbage and you put it into the Quran. And he did. Everything you heard, the next day it would be a revelation from Jibreel, you know? Yeah. And, you know, and the Jews knew this. The Jews played him, man. The Jews were, you know, they were smart. They said, we know how to play this guy, man. And they would tell him this stuff, and then the next day he'd be in the Quran, you know.
The Quran tries to defend itself from that accusation as well. Tell me a question. There's many different ways. I mean, like Usama Dakdok works from within the culture, knowing the culture, he works to obviously evangelize and to convert Muslims. Right? He meets them where they're at. He understands the historical arguments. He knows all of these other things, but he works within the standard narrative. He takes it, because I mean, you can work within the standard narrative or outside of it. And either way, you can show inconsistencies, incoherencies, historical errors, all sorts of issues. What is your preferred approach, and what do you think of other approaches? I mean, I know you've watched my channel because you've commented. I mean, so what are your thoughts on the different approaches, like Jay Smith or others, you know, and maybe what I do?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, do we need all of these different approaches? Do we need to attack it from different angles? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I anybody who's doing anything, thank you. Anybody who's doing anything, thank you. It's like I know that there's in America it's something that I wasn't really very much involved with when I first, especially when I was living in the Middle East,
Hmm.
was the apologetics angle. I wasn't at all involved with that. I was more into the supernatural. I've seen the power of God, healing, miracles, dreams, visions, because that's what happened to me. It was a supernatural thing. It wasn't. I didn't know Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl when he was 51. I didn't know that he married his daughter-in-law. I didn't know that he went and saw her naked and then Allah opened the door so he could see her. I didn't know that he killed 1,000 Jews in one day. I didn't know all these wonderful things about him. Uh, uh, but it was a supernatural thing. And so I really am more focused on the supernatural element than I am with the apologetics and polemics, even though I am involved with that, and
Hmm.
I've, I am very much focused on that, and I've written books about it. I mean, and so I say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Some people that go out and uh, they preach the 4 spiritual laws to the Muslims who don't understand. They don't understand sin. The Christian concept of sin. When I got saved, I remember hearing Christians say, "Oh yeah, Jesus died for my sins." And as a Muslim, I said, "Dude, I'm not a sinner. I'm a good Muslim." And so I didn't understand sin. And so a lot of the Christian concept they don't understand. And so you got to kind of adjust our language to be able to come to speak with them, learn a little bit about their book, learn a little bit about Islam. You don't have to become an expert, but make sure you know the real thing. You see, this is the problem with a lot of Christians. Make sure you know the real thing. When you're going into the counterfeit, a lot of people, which I've seen, especially among the Arabs, I've seen this, Christian Arabs, is that they want to learn the counterfeit so good so they'll be able to talk to these people, but they don't know the real thing. They don't
Right.
know how to go to the gospel and prove the Trinity. They don't know how to go to the Bible and prove the deity and dual nature of Jesus Christ. They don't know how to go to the gospel and prove the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. They don't know how to go to extra biblical sources to prove the resurrection and the crucifixion. Dude, learn the real thing first. Learn the Bible. Learn what Jesus, and you don't got to be a doctor,
Yeah.
but learn these
Wouldn't that
things.
be appropriate though for apologetics or apologists who would need to do defense? Whereas in my case, for instance, I mean, I absolutely positively do not know the Bible to that degree, you know.
Mm-hmm,
Whereas I do know the Sharia very, very well. I know the Sirah very well. I know
mm-hmm,
lots of I mean, even the Quran I don't know as well as some do, you know.
mm-hmm,
But I understand all of the secondary sources around it, because the
mm-hmm.
Quran was an inspiration for these other sources, and the
Sure.
Quran is in many ways superseded and replaced by the Sharia, for instance, and the
Mm-hmm.
Sirah provides a lot of the narrative that feeds into Islam today. So these
Yes.
are the things that I've looked at. These are the stories of Muhammad. These are the laws, the things that are applied in practical and taught to the kids. So the
Yeah.
Quran is very vague. It'll have like one paragraph literally about, I don't know, let's say, I don't know, some topic. And then the Sharia will have 60 pages on it,
Yeah.
you know, and this is what they refer to. So the Quran is like a seed, as you said, but you can't get a lot out of it. You can't read much on a postage stamp,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So then you go to the encyclopedia that they wrote about that postage stamp, and that's kind of where I focus.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like I noticed that you have a particular specialty, within this very unique understanding of the Sharia law, which a lot of the focus is on the Quran and the Hadith more and the
Mm.
biography more than the Sharia element. But you're kind of like where the rubber hits the road, where all of that becomes practical,
Yeah,
and so that you see each person has their different role, and
yeah,
and each person has their own method of evangelizing, but I just say do it. Whatever your method is, do it. Just do it.
Yeah, I guess whatever you're called to do, whatever you can do, to do what you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
I mean, I just felt that this is what I needed to do,
Yeah.
and it's what I could do. I just thought, let me offer what, this is what I can do.
Mhm.
So it adds another piece to the puzzle. It's many people that are adding pieces to this puzzle.
Yeah. And especially with ex-Muslims, the Bible says they overcame him by the word of their testimony. With an ex-Muslim, you've got your testimony, what you were, what brought you out of what you were and what you are now, those 3 steps, so anyway, that's how I do it. I don't know how much time we have. I kind of wanted to show a couple of videos.
Yeah, go ahead. So generally I try to keep things around an hour and a half, because I know with modern internet, with Adam Seeker, you've got to go 6 to 12 hours. And, personally, I try to sort of keep it around an hour. If I do a private stream, I'll max out at hour 15, 90 minutes. And then occasionally I'll try and do an hour and a half, and I might go less, I might go more. But I try to myself. We've done an hour and 20 minutes, for instance. But yeah, show some videos. Go by all means, share your screen and let's do that. Yeah.
Just give a real quick. I went to the Middle East. I was a missionary there in Jerusalem for 2 years. Then in the Gaza Strip for 6 years. I was in the Gaza Strip, and lots of miracles happened. I had people. I had one guy who came over to my house one night, and he was a Muslim, and in the morning, there was a bunch of guys, like 10 guys that came over, and they're all Muslims, and in the morning, one of them wakes up and he says to the guys, he says, "Hey, which one of you came to me last night?" And the guy said, "What are you talking about? We didn't come to you." And he says, "No, one of you came to me." He says, "You stood by my mattress, and then you said, 'I am the Christ, and I'm waiting for you.'" He said, "Which one of you did that?" And they all said, "Dude, we didn't do that. And if we came to you, we wouldn't say that." But you see, these are the types of things that happen. And you can't meet a Christian and stay the same. You'll become better or you become worse, but you can't meet a Christian and stay the same. The Holy Spirit will affect you somehow. So anyway, I just want to show a couple of videos.
Sure.
From there, I came back to the U.S. in 2010. I started working in TV. I had a TV program with a guy named Father Zechariah Butros, and he's like the Billy Graham of the Muslim world. He's a Coptic priest who has a $60 million price on his head, and he has a TV station called El Fadi. And the $60 million was from Al Qaeda, and because it was the same time that the U.S. put $25 million on Bin Laden, Al Qaeda put $60 million on Father Zechariah, and he's been preaching the gospel forever on TV, and he's like 90 years old now. But I worked with him for 10 years on his channel, and I had an English program on his channel for about 9 years. It's still on TV, and through that I learned Arabic apologetics and polemics, and so now I just do my YouTube channel, and then I like to go on the street, take my cross, and preach the gospel out on the streets. And so I got some videos of some of my encounters, and so let me see if I can show some of them. Yeah. Okay. And these are on my TikTok channel if you guys want to go see them. So, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now are you linguistically limited in what you can say on here?
I'm surprised I still have a channel, man, considering the things that I say. I'm amazed sometimes.
Okay,
I mean, look, it's not like I got in my way to be offensive, but within context, I will say the P word, to do with Adobe and the PDF files they generate. And I will say the M word because,
Oops. Okay, see that I got the cross. Jesus is the Son of God, and then Muhammad is a false prophet. Okay, so anyway, that's what I do. I usually take them out my table and I go
better.
Okay, now I'll show you some reactions to that. Okay, here.
Where are you from?
Allah يسامحك. Allah
Why do
يسامحك.
you talk about Muhammad in the back?
Allah يسامحك تيجي and say I'm Egyptian. يعني that's what.
So why you got hurt from? Where you got hurt from Muslims?
Okay.
Somebody like playing something in you in the past?
You know what happened is
No, I don't want to waste my time.
You don't want to waste my. You asked me a question. You asked me a question. Let me answer.
Something hurt you. You're missing something. Trust me, I don't care about anything what you say.
Okay.
Even if you record.
I'm recording.
You talk about my prophet.
Okay.
Something you're missing.
Go. Can you tell me? Can you tell me? Well, if you ask me a question, I'm going to answer you. If you're going to ask me a question, answer me.
No, my prophet. I respect my prophet, and I don't care about you.
He married a 6-year-old girl. He married a 6-year-old girl named Aisha, صح؟ جوز بنت عمرها 6 سنين اسمها عائشة. محمد كان عمره 51 سنة عمره. جوز بنت عمرها 6 سنين. شو بتقول عن واحد هيك؟
بدك تسمعني؟
شو بتقول عن واحد؟ اوكي يلا رد علي.
جوز واحدة عمرها 7 سنين. 6 سنين هسه
51.
بدك تسمعني؟
51 هذا نبي؟ هذا نبي؟
معناته محروق انت تعبان من جوا.
انت تعبان
تسمعني؟
صح.
اي احسن تتجوزها 6 سنين ولا عمرها 12 سنة كل الحارة تنط عليها.
6 سنين 6 سنين هالكدي صغنطوطة مسكينة اجى جوزها من كثر ما خافت شعرها نزل من راسها. من كثر ما خافت الشعر نزل من راسها. Okay. That's the first person to spit at me.
Wow.
First person. But I got some good ones in English too here. Let me see. That guy spit on me. I was talking about, Aisha being 6 years old, and here, let me see. This one right here. This one, you really feel the love in this one here.
What? Fuck your mom. Fuck you. Fuck your mom. You got a fucking problem?
What?
You got a fucking problem putting this shit?
Why?
Jesus ain't God. Jesus ain't God.
Jesus is God.
No, he's not. Prove it.
Son of God.
Prove it, bitch.
Ask him.
Prove it.
Ask him.
Go ask him. You want me to kill you? You just go up there and fucking ask him yourself? You motherfucker. You have nothing better to do? You know all these Muslims come over here and you want to talk shit? You're a motherfucker. You know that? You're a pussy ass bitch. And fuck you. Fuck your mom. Fuck your wife. Fuck everyone in your fucking family.
Wow.
Fuck your religion, little bitch. Pussy ass.
Religion of peace. That's evidence right there. That's proof. Religion of peace. Tolerance and peace and love for the non-Muslim. Incredible.
Here's a
wow.
It's not always like that. There's lots of good things that happen, but here's one more bad one, and then I'll show a good one. Okay.
I'm asking you a question. Just because the police said I could stand here. No. The police came and told me I could stay here.
Listen, boy, it don't mean that it's
The
right.
police told me I could.
That it's right, though.
America.
It don't mean that it's right, man. I'm asking you one more time. I'm asking you a question.
You see, he spit at my face there. So
Disgusting.
now these are some of the friendlier. They're not friendly, but let me see. There's another one where you really.
But this is also mandated in the Sharia. They have to use a verbal abuse, and they have to escalate to physical aggression if they can. So it's just it's part of the requirement as a good Muslim that you must abuse the person verbally if you can.
Yeah. Well, they've done it. So let me see that. Shoot, I don't know if I have it here. I kind of wanted to. Well, these are a little bit friendlier. Like this was recently here. This kid, he was, I think. Here.
He's creating and he doesn't know, and he's making fun of me because he can't answer. He can't answer.
No, your voice is funny. That's why I'm making fun
No,
of you.
it's funny. Or your logic doesn't
Are
work.
you gonna let me talk at all?
I gave you the chance. Recite right now, Fatiha.
Okay, I don't know
Prove
the
to us
I don't want to know it. I don't want to know it. But I know a lot of Quran verses. But I know a lot of Quran verses.
He only knows.
Can I tell you some of the Quran verses I know? Are you afraid also? Are you also afraid? Are you going to do like him? Okay, well, then let me say something from the Quran. Let me say something from the Quran. Let me tell you.
Fatiha. Everybody. Fatiha. 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 Right now, Fatiha. Fatiha. Recite right now.
I don't know.
We're all watching you. Recite Fatiha. Creating Shubuhat. He's creating crap.
So that guy's just nuts. He just wanted to, he wanted me to say the Fatiha. And I said, I don't know. I mean, I had it memorized. I don't want to know it. I don't want to say it because it's demonic, you know. But
yeah, he doesn't even speak Arabic. This guy.
Yeah. And these guys, what's so funny about them? They don't speak Arabic, but they always want to tell me how I don't know Arabic, you know, and how my Arabic isn't perfect, and my Arabic, you know, but they don't know Arabic, you know. Let me see. I think maybe I'm not sure what this one is here. Let me see.
Jesus died on the cross to forgive us of our filthy sins. Jesus died on the cross. Okay. Okay, I'm talking to him. I'm talking to him.
Don't fucking talk to me.
Jesus died on the cross to forgive your sins. Jesus died on the cross to forgive your sins. He died for everybody's sins. Jesus died to forgive us of our sins. The wonderful thing about America, freedom to talk. Wonderful thing about America.
Don't talk to me.
You just hit me.
You don't fucking talk to me.
You just hit me.
You don't fucking talk to me.
You just hit me.
That's my right. Don't talk to me.
No, it's not. You're not allowed to hit me.
I didn't fucking hit you. Don't fucking talk to me.
You hit me. You
don't
put your
fucking
hand.
talk
You
to me.
put your hand
I don't
on
give
me.
you fuck who you
That's
are. Don't
assault.
fucking talk to me.
That's assault.
Don't fucking
I
talk
have
to
the
me.
right to speak. This
Yes,
is America.
I have the right to. I have the right.
And you have the right to hit me.
I have the right. You don't talk to me. That's my fucking right.
You hit
Don't
me.
fucking talk to me.
You hit me.
Fuck you, man.
You hit me.
Fuck you.
You hit me. You hit me. He hit.
Okay. And now it's not always that way. It's not always that way. Sometimes we get to actually get a few words in edgewise,
but they get reward. Allah rewards them for this. This actually earns them reward from Allah because they are commanding the right and forbidding the wrong, which is the foundational doctrine in Islam. It's their great commission. Just as we are to go out and evangelize the world, which is the great commission in Christianity, theirs is to command the right and forbid the wrong. And what these people are doing is just that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that's the. If I could just show this last one, just to show that it's, you know, I don't want to scare people from evangelizing Muslims. I know I showed all the bad stuff, but there's real opportunities to plant seeds, and I'll be honest, I haven't seen anybody come to the Lord through my being out there, but I do know that I was able to plant seeds, especially you know, like when you talk about, you know, the fact that Muhammad married Aisha and all that stuff, you know, and there's a little bit of a conversation. It was very little, but you know, every week usually when I go out, I usually have one topic that I try to focus on, and the focus this particular week was the fact that Allah always calls himself we in the Quran. I was listening to a David Wood video before I got there. So I was thinking about, you know, Allah always refers to himself in the plural in the Quran. Why is that? You know, is there more than one? You know, and so these are some of the reactions that we got here. So.
Speak English.
Sorry,
I am.
you're not gonna convince us that Jesus is Lord, okay?
Okay. Oh, that's Jesus. Are you Muslim?
Yes, I'm Muslim.
Do you know the Quran says men can beat their wives?
Listen, you're not, like I said, you're gonna waste your time.
You speak good English, very good English.
Like I said, you're gonna waste your time thinking that Jesus is Lord. He's not.
The Quran says he is. You know, the Quran says he is. But you don't believe the Quran, right?
The Quran does not
Yes,
say
it does. Yes, it does. It says he's God. Yes,
No,
especially
he's
says
not.
he's Lord. Absolutely.
Bring
Chapter
it.
9:31. Where's your Quran? Do you read Arabic?
Yes, I read.
Okay. Do you know what it means? It says اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح. Do you know Arabic? You don't know Arabic. You're not a Muslim.
You're taking that out of context.
No,
because God Himself
9:30.
said.
Do you read Arabic? Do you know that? Do you read
He is
Arabic?
the divine and only.
It
He
says
didn't say
there's
for
only
a
one
human
God.
being
There's
to
only
be
one
God.
God. Even though Allah was. No, do
Okay.
you know 931?
Misconstruing.
If you're not afraid, if you're not
taking
afraid.
it out of context. I know
No,
what
I'm
you're
not.
trying to
No,
do.
I'm not. You're afraid. You're running away. You're running away. It's okay though. I don't blame you for being afraid. It's 931. Read it in Arabic. Read it in Arabic. No, okay. Read it in Arabic.
Allah.
Why does he call himself we? Why does he call himself we? He always says,
No.
we sent down the Quran.
No, it's shaitan.
No. Allah says, نحن نزلنا ذكر نحن. Allah always calls himself we.
No.
Allah always calls himself we. Is there more than one? Is there more than one?
No, please.
Is there more than one? Why does Allah call himself we? Allah calls
one
himself we.
God.
There's only one God, of course.
Yeah,
but God is three persons.
No,
The Quran, in the Quran.
No.
In the Quran.
No.
In the
It's
Quran,
the big
in
one.
the
This is
Quran, it's called,
this
it says,
is
Allah
the devil
calls
getting
himself
your
we. In the Quran, Allah calls himself we. He says, نحن نزلنا ذكر نحن له. Arabic.
Okay, Muhammad, no, Jesus.
Muhammad is Arabic.
Muhammad.
The Arabic says.
No,
I know what the Arabic says. The mistake is they took their monks and rabbis as lords. The correction is instead of Allah and Jesus Christ. That means Allah and Jesus Christ are the Lord, according to the Quran. But if the Quran is wrong, then you're okay. I agree with you. The Quran is wrong.
I believe it's La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.
Well, you go ahead.
God is one and one and only. He has no partners, nor does His creation our Lord.
But in the Quran, Jesus is the creator. You know, in the
No,
Quran.
He is not.
Yes, he does. Chapter
For you to
349.
think of that
Chapter 349.
It's false.
Well, the Quran is false.
A
The
human
Quran is
being just
false.
like
You're
all of
right.
us.
But the
It's
Quran
false.
says Jesus is the creator.
False.
He says,
False.
أخلق لكم من
False.
الطين كهيئة الطير. I create for you a bird and breathe into it like
By
Allah
the
did.
permission of God.
But by
By
the
God's
power.
permission.
But whose power? But whose power? Whose power, my friend? Chapter 931 says Jesus is God. Chapter 931 says Jesus is God.
Okay.
Why do they always shout? They don't sit down. They can't answer. Like, I've got Muslims that will, when I discuss the Sharia, let's say on social media or something, they will come up with the laugh emoji. They all use it, lol. They all use the laugh emoji, and they want to laugh, and they will. How are you an expert? They'll never answer the question. They'll never provide actual Sharia statements from the sources. They'll never actually provide facts, evidence from the source. They'll always engage like this, insulting, shouting, screaming, anything to change the subject, abuse, rude, but never actually engage the point. It's crazy.
Well, the way to win an argument from their perspective is not the logic, it's not the argument, it's the volume. You know, the volume determines who won the argument. So if you're louder, you won the argument. And so that's why they, you know, you got to just look at all when you look at the debates like with David Wood and like Sam Shimon and all those different ones, you know, what's the main thing? The volume. If you're louder, you won, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not a joke. I'm not joking.
No, it's third world culture. I grew up with that. I know this. I grew up with this. I mean, this is not to say that I practice it, but I grew up with this. I saw it around me. I lived in that sea, that ocean, and this is normal. And here's the thing: it annoys me when Westerners don't realize you're dealing with a culture that has completely different values, that actually laughs at your values behind your back, that makes fun of your values behind you, that thinks you're weak. And I'm going to use a word here. They think you're a pussy. I mean, look, am I wrong? Am I wrong, Steve? Am I wrong?
Well, unfortunately, that's the Islamic value system is, you know, but it depends where you are on the scale of jihad. You know, if you're at the lowest level, you know, according to Islam, you got to be meek and humble and just all accepting, and we love all the prophets and we respect all religions.
And you hate them in your heart.
Yeah, but in your heart, yeah. But then when you get a little bit more population, then you can start saying, you know what, we have to speak the truth, and the truth is that Muhammad is and then the third level, which is we're here to take over.
London is the third level.
Yeah. So, yeah, but that's kind of what I do these days. And I like going out on the streets. And if I don't go, I get depressed. It's like I need to do, and you got to be on a war footing. You got to be on confronting the devil. It's not about these people. They're all bound by these demonic spirits. And I know, because I was one of them. They're bound by these demonic spirits, and you may not see the fruit of it. You may not, one thing, when I lived in Jerusalem, there was this guy that we went to have coffee with one night, and he was a Muslim, but he had a picture of Jesus in his wallet. And he says, "Oh, I love Jesus and stuff, And I said, "Oh, well, that's great." And I said, "Do you want to accept the Lord and stuff?" And he said, "No, I'm a Muslim, but I love Jesus." And I said, "Okay, that's fine." But a few months later, he calls me on the phone, because I gave him my phone number and stuff. He said, "The one who came to you came to me."
Wow.
And to this day, I'm in touch with this guy. This is like 25 years ago. And so, Jesus said to his disciples, he says, "When the Holy Spirit comes, he will bear witness of me, and you will bear witness of me." See, it's a co-laboring with the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit's already doing his part. But we need to co-labor with the Holy Spirit. And so there's, the prayers, and then the spiritual element, the supernatural, and then so our part. We learn these apologetics, learn these polemics, learn how to do these things, and
right.
So, but it's ultimately, we plant, we water, he gives the increase. And so, sometimes you don't see the fruit, but on Judgment Day, there's one guy that I prayed with him to receive the Lord. I didn't actually lead him to the Lord, but the person who did lead him to the Lord actually asked me to pray the prayer for him to accept the Lord, and I did. And he went on to become a TV evangelist, and specifically to Muslims.
Wow.
And so you don't know if you have a part in bringing a Paul or bringing to the Lord, and each person has their particular role, and so just do what God has put on your heart to do. But for Christians, learn the real thing first. Learn the Trinity. Learn the deity and dual nature of Jesus Christ. Learn the crucifixion and resurrection. Those are the foundations of Christianity. Learn them, and so you can share them with other people and be able to defend them against these attacks, because this is what Satan always attacks, is those things. So,
right. Amazing. Would you like to come back in the future? I mean, we can always set up another date and time and have this again and discuss this and other topics. I mean, this was fascinating.
Yes, sure. Yeah. And, I hope that, that people will be encouraged to do that little thing, whatever it may be, little, maybe big. Maybe you're going to have, impact on nations. Maybe you're going to have impact on one person, but do that. Whatever it is, do it. Some people, God gave them 5 talents. Some gave 1 talent. Use your 1 talent to preach, and not just to Muslims. You preach the gospel to everybody's going to hell. Everybody needs Jesus. Okay. But if you are interested in Muslim, you feel called to
the call to action is so right. I was discussing last night that I hear so many Christians say, well, in the end, we win. In the end, God wins because it's already in the book. And it's like, but it almost seems it's written in a sense that we can be passive. We can do nothing. We can be lazy because we win in the end. But you're like, but that's not an excuse for you to sit down and let evil run rampant. What are you personally doing? Are you fighting evil? Are you allowing evil to just prosper within your grasp? We have to take action. We need to be active and not passive, because everyone says for evil to succeed, all that's required for evil to succeed is that good men do nothing. Well, that's kind of like an excuse to do nothing, because we win in the end.
It's no, we You know, there's no plan B. There's no plan B. We are God's plan A. There is no
Oh, sorry,
plan
my
B.
nose has been itching like crazy, dude. Ah,
Yeah.
hey, it's that change of season here. It's like the fall, the leaves are falling, and my nose is starting to go nuts. And I guess I need to get with the.
That's funny. I did my wife and me got COVID at the same time a few years ago, and we did a song because it was during Christmas, and it was called Omicron Christmas, and one part of it was the nasal inhalers. So it's similar to what you just did. But do you think it would be a problem if I showed a video of that episode of I Dream of Jeannie, just that clip? Or do you think it'd be a problem copyright wise?
I don't think so, because look, in theory, I mean, look, they might attack the episode. You never know, but in theory, you're allowed to do. You can pause, discuss. That is legal. I mean, someone else could always maliciously attack the channel for that. But I mean, I've played small things here and there. I don't think it should be a problem.
Okay, if I could just show the mecha part from I Dream of Jeannie, it just take a second. Wait a second, I gotta go to this commercial here.
Jeannie, what are you doing here? I told you to stay home and rest.
It is no use, Master. Something has happened to me. I am vanishing.
No. All you need is a good night's sleep.
Oh, I cannot understand what has happened to me.
Well, if you don't feel better by tonight, we'll get you a good doctor.
No doctor could... What is this, Master?
Oh, just some nonsense Roger left here. Jeannie, it's very important that I get
Master, look! Jupiter and Mercury are together.
Oh, fine. I have to go over to the
This
test
is the
chamber.
day of the ram.
Good. It's about time they won a game.
You do not understand. On the day of the ram, every genie and her master must make a pilgrimage to Mecca.
Well, I faced east when I shaved this morning. Isn't that enough? Hey, you don't really believe in the
Please do not jest, Master. It is why I have been so ill today. It is written that on this day, my master must appear in the thieves' market at the well of Matahar, face the minaret of the rising sun, and repeat the sacred words.
Jeannie, I've got to be in a test chamber with Dr. Bellows in 2 minutes.
Oh, please, Master. If Ramda is not appeased, I shall lose my power and disappear into limbo forever.
Now, will you stop believing in this superstitious nonsense? Now, I want you to go home and lie down. Hello. Yes, sir. I'm on my way.
I'll try. Oh, but Master, you will...
Could we make it tomorrow, sir? How? Well, I don't
know. The rest of that actually shows them going to Mecca and standing there in front of, and it's even called the minaret. They have to go to this special minaret and pray there and do this little these special words. You know, I mean,
special words, the Shana Na. You know, good night, sweetheart. You know the Shana Na. Is that what they have to do? Oh boy.
Yeah.
Boy, he just disappeared. We are giving away our age. Yes, let's give Steve a second to come back, and then I think we'll wrap up. But that was very unusual. So yeah, let's give it a few seconds. Otherwise, I'll just send him a text. Right. Am I still on the channel? Okay, the Jins are at it again. So, guys, I just sent him a text. Let's see. He hasn't seen it. So maybe his internet dropped off because he has not seen his text. I mean, he might not be checking. So there's that. He probably lost his battery. It could be that his battery died. So he got lost. Okay. Okay, he just texted me coming back. On. Okay, well, welcome back. You're just in time for the ending, Husein. You're just in time for the ending.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Oops. Let me go.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to sort of finish up. We've been an hour 50 minutes. So yeah, let's just wrap up, and then you can just tell people where and how to find you again, and I mean, we'll certainly have you back, and we'll have this conversation again.
Yes. Well, I have a live stream that I do. Usually, it's at. I'm not sure what the time would be like over there in Europe, but it's like we've got the 8-hour difference or 9-hour difference or something. But my channel is called Husein Mashni, which is my name, and my program is called My Journey to the Trinity, and so I usually do almost daily live broadcasts. Sometimes we have Muslims come in, and we talk to them, try to witness to them. Sometimes we have other people come in. I've had success with Catholics, the other side of my family too. So, and so anyway, that's kind of what I do, and so yes, and let me see if I could 1 second here. Hey, babe, want to come say hi? Come on, say hi. Okay, my beautiful wife is shot. So.
I fully understand. So yeah, so look, let's because I also have to go and do those family things.
Yes. So thank you so much for having me on. It was great, and I enjoy your live streams, and I enjoy you do have a very unique angle in your ministry and your presentation of the Islam, and so it's one part of the puzzle where every one of us is a piece of the puzzle, and so ultimately to expose the truth and set the captives free in Jesus' name.
No, thanks. So we'll be in touch again. So everyone, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all of the chat and the questions, and I hope you've enjoyed this. And Steve, it's been an honor. Well, Husein, we should call you just Husein, because these days everyone knows the name. So guys, thank you all very much. Good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and all that. God bless. Take care, guys. Bye.